Hello. Thank you for joining me again here and welcome. We're going to have a talk today about mind and body. Yeah, it's most certainly a topic of conversation in the world at large. Here, while we're talking about A Course in Miracles and nothing but A Course in Miracles, we're going to hone in on some specific language and three specific paragraphs, to be exact, of the text of A Course in Miracles in chapter 18, section 6, paragraphs 2 through 4, if you're following along at home, which I always encourage. The backdrop for our conversation today is that God gives knowledge of himself. He does. He gives knowledge of himself. What else would he give? Being the only reality. As he creates, he extends himself. Hmm. He gives knowledge of himself. And the fact that we're even here, apparently, we only appear to be here after all. The fact that this conversation even appears to be happening is testament to the fact that we've run off, so to speak, even though we actually can't run anywhere. We have thought that we can give and get something outside of ourselves. We have thought that there's something out there. There's nothing outside you. And that's the opening sentence of paragraph 1 of this section. And it's an idea that we covered at length in the most recent video, which I invite you to watch if you're curious. We think that we can give and get stuff out there, outside of us. And this belief, which is a simple mistake, it's just an error. This error has caused us to lose our awareness of heaven and to lose our awareness of our identity. Capital I, identity. Where are you? Mm, go there, go there. Please. The thought that we can do life and get stuff outside of us has cost us our awareness of heaven, of our natural state, where we all are. That's the backdrop here. Fundamental to the study and practice of A Course in Miracles is the idea that because we see ourselves as separated, we see ourselves as separate from God. And we've made up myths such as the Garden of Eden story, where he supposedly cast us out. Mm, not even. But we've made that up. And, well, I don't know about you, but growing up in not one but two fundamentalist Christian traditions in the United States, no less, I was fed this story repeatedly many times. And I always formulated a thought that I wound up, after vocalizing it several times, I wound up keeping it to myself the remainder of the time. But it's, why would a loving God throw his kids out of the party? Why would he eject and kick them out and punish? Love doesn't punish, does it? Hmm, certainly not. So, having thought, even though it's an error, having thought that we're separate from God, and therefore we see ourselves as an individual, separate being, and we see every other person that walks the face of this earth as separate, and all of the animals and birds and fish and other life forms as separate again, separate, 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 separate. That's all we appear to see. In this, well, state, condition, mm, mistaken belief, we feel guilty. The unconscious guilt that we all feel for having thrown away heaven, so we think. We think that we've tossed away the kingdom of heaven, and we don't feel good about it at all. The unconscious guilt is tremendous. It's unconscious. So as we go about our day to day lives, we're not aware of it on the surface of things. Now, guilt certainly does rise to our conscious awareness all of the time. And this is where we practice true forgiveness as it's outlined in this course. Feeling this tremendous guilt, which we can't stand, and understandably so, right? Who wants to feel that much guilt? What we do is we project it. Onto what do we project it? Onto whom? Well, ourselves. We project it onto the physical body. The mind attempts to displace its guilt, its fear, its horror onto the physical body. Of itself, the body is nothing. It can be used for further separation and attack and warfare, or it can be used for healing the mind. It can be used lovingly. It can be used for the Holy Spirit's purposes of healing the mind. It can be used to forgive. It can be used to extend love to every single living thing without exception. It can be used for good. Of itself, it is nothing. When the mind attempts to displace its guilt onto the body, it attacks the body. The body suffers sickness. The body suffers decay and death. It's the mind that's doing all of this. This is not what we're taught growing up in high school biology class, for sure. But we're adult learners here, and something, I really don't know actually what it appeared to be for you. I know what it is, but I don't know how it turned up for you. Something has drawn you to this particular channel on YouTube. And for whatever reason you're watching this particular video, however you came here, the thought behind it is our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit. This, our inner teacher, is what has us on the spiritual path in the first place, always speaking to us. You have listened, and I'm willing to bet that you've listened more than once, or you certainly wouldn't be watching this. I mean, when you look at all of the things that people are doing in the world, who's really ready to hear the message that there is no world? You are not a body, which we deep down all know. We do know. We don't have to choose to believe it. We can choose to deny that as much as we like. And the fact that we appear to be here having this conversation in the first place is testament to the fact that we have done this over and over and over again. Ready to stop? Okay. Well, if you answered yes, good. If you answered no, no problem. It's your choice. Ah, this course is self-study. Very good. So we run into all kinds of difficulty when we attempt to displace our guilt onto the physical body, starting with the fact that it craps out and falls apart and ceases to function. I mean, maybe that's years and years and years from now for you, but we don't actually know that, do we? We really don't. I mean, the reality here in the world is that we could go off to work and never come home again, or we could run out to the grocery store or out for a walk in our neighborhood and not come back. And we don't know that. We don't. The body is nothing of itself. The mind runs and controls it. It appears to be autonomous. The heart appears to beat on its own. We appear to be breathing on our own, speaking, moving about, formulating thoughts, all of that. But minds are joined. In fact, there is only one mind. Of course, it's joined. Mind is joined. There is one mind. When we attempt to displace our guilt, this supposed separation results, where we appear to be having our own individual experience. We have different preferences than somebody else. For example, we like different foods, we have different politics, we have different jobs, we have different views, all of that supposed separation and multiplicity. That results from our projecting our unconscious guilt onto the physical body and making it concrete and real and choosing to believe that it's concrete and real when in fact it's not. And here's what we do. We assign the mind, which is one and joined, all of the properties of the physical body. We mistakenly assume that there are 8 billion plus human minds. We assign separation to the mind, thinking we're a physical body. Something very, very important pops up now for our learning and for your contemplation and repetition. Ideas leave not their source. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. The mind thinks it's attacking something outside of it, but there is nothing outside of it. What is it then attacking? It's self. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. Thoughts remain in the mind. So, are you cultivating loving, forgiving thoughts, or are you attacking and blaming? When you love and forgive and extend joy, you're loving and forgiving and extending yourself joy. Also, when you place blame, when you project your own guilt and fear onto someone else by blaming him or attacking him, or even in your mind, of course, that's where it all takes place, you're attacking yourself. We either love and forgive, or we blame and attack ourselves. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. There is one mind, not 8 billion plus minds. One. Again, this is not what we're taught in high school biology class. It's a whole different kind of curriculum. One that you have been looking for. Welcome. So our guilt simply remains with us. What do we do? Forgive. This is where we can see, with what I hope is crystal clarity, that the practice of true forgiveness is, in fact, the foundational centerpiece of studying and practicing A Course in Miracles. It really is. Anything that we experience in our lives that is not wholly and completely, and I mean totally 100% joyous, is an opportunity to forgive. We can actively extend love. We can choose loving thoughts right here in the present moment. Indeed, when else would we ever do it? Because the past is gone, which of course we readily accept, and the future's not here. Yet we live our lives as though that's not true. When you think about it, we spend almost all of our time either in the past or dwelling on the future, going over past stuff that we woulda, coulda, shoulda done, mm, clobbering ourselves over it. Forgive yourself. Past is gone. Forgive the past. It's gone too. That, or we dote on the future. Tomorrow's meeting. How are we going to do this? How am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? What if somebody says this on Saturday night on our date? I don't know. I don't know. Lots of different things that we think about. They're not here. And many of these future things, as we discover in our day-to-day experience in life, don't even happen. I mean, how much of the stuff that you've worried about obsessively in your lifetime ever actually happened? I mean, some of it might have, but a lot of it doesn't, does it? It's something to think about. We can all make the choice right now, in the present moment, to forgive the Son of God. Forgive yourself for dreaming all of this. Forgive the physical body. This body can be used lovingly for the purposes of the Holy Spirit. In other words, for the purposes of healing the mind. That's what's happening right now. This thing that looks like a physical body, speaking a language that we all understand to some degree or another, this is being used lovingly. When something connects for you, it's not this body that's connecting with you. It's the Holy Spirit that's connecting with you. You're connecting with yourself. Capital S. We're invited to lean into this and to relax as much as we can and trust the guidance of our inner teacher. That is indeed what the spiritual path is about, this relaxing and trusting, no matter the tradition. So I invite you to use the physical body lovingly. Give it over to the Holy Spirit, your inner teacher, for the purposes of healing the mind. And do your best to step aside, not try to order or orchestrate or manipulate and control how things are going to go. You will be instructed as to what to do. That's what's happening right now. This camera and microphone are on recording right now because of the Holy Spirit's specific instruction. That's mine. Yours can look a lot differently. And it will, of course, because we all appear to be in different places in life. We live in different places. We are different ages. We have different connections here in the world. We're connected to different people. We have different work situations. All of that, all of that. Yeah. What's one and the same is mind. So we can use our mind for beautiful, good, and loving purposes, or we can continue to use it to attack. Choice is ours. Choice is yours right now, today. Okay, so, well, as I often say, nobody ever said this was shallow. And by the way, these videos are for everyone, whether you're a long-time course student or you're a beginning course student, anything in between, or even if you're simply popping in and checking this video out because YouTube recommended it to you or however you got here. This is for everybody. I mean, plenty of people pop in wondering what this Course in Miracles thing is all about. Yeah. Healing the mind, peace of mind. Want that? Of course you do. All right. So along the way, questions are bound to arise. After all, we're learning a completely different way of thinking about ourselves, about everybody else in the world and the world itself. which is nothing. It's a complete perceptual 180. Questions are bound to arise, and if you have them and you'd like to ask me here, this is a perfect place. Plenty of excellent questions have been asked here on the discussion thread here in YouTube. So if you've got them, please leave them. And also, if you have not subscribed and joined us, I would love to have you do that. Please go ahead and do that. That's the prompt, that arrow in the corner of your screen. Just click that. You'll be invited to join us, and I hope that you do. It's a growing international community, and well, I'd love to have you. Thank you to all of you who have recently joined us. And questions are always welcome. All right, so if you've got them, please feel welcome to leave them. And I will see you again very soon. Thanks for joining me.